Welcome to the Joint Base Lewis McChord Domestic Violence Victims Resource Roundtable. I'm Captain Matthew Rich, Chief of the JBLM Maine Legal Assistance Office, and here with me today are Ms. Kristen Brundage and Ms. Megan Casey of the Family Advocacy Program, Mr. Stephen Tenorio of the McChord Legal Assistance Office, Captain Kathy Hartsfield, Army Senior Special Victims Counsel for JBLM, Captain Kevin Mitchell, Air Force Special Victim Counsel for JBLM, Mr. Bob Jarrett for the Air Force Victim and Witness Assistance Program, and Ms. Tanita Bell Buck, Army Victim Witness Liaison. We just wrapped up the month of October, Domestic Violence Awareness Month, and in support of continuing readiness, this event is designed to raise the collective awareness about the domestic violence crisis. According to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, approximately 1 in 5 women and 1 in 7 men report having experienced severe physical violence from an intimate partner. In fiscal year 2018, the Department of Defense reports 16,912 incidents of spouse and intimate partner abuse. Domestic violence has no place in our military. The purpose of this roundtable is to raise awareness about the resources that are available to victims of domestic violence across Joint Base Lewis McChord. Each program will describe eligibility requirements and the services that they provide to domestic violence victims. Our goal is to put our people first and ensure that service members and their dependents are aware of how we can help. We'll begin our discussion today with Ms. Kristen Brundage from the Family Advocacy Program.
Hello, my name is Kristen Brundage, and I am the Family Advocacy Program Manager here at Joint Base Lewis McChord. I think when we're talking about domestic abuse, we should talk a little bit about what domestic abuse is. So oftentimes when people think of this, they're thinking of something physical. They're thinking of an altercation where somebody's hitting another person. But domestic abuse is much more than that. It falls under 4 different categories. I like to think of it as the acronym of ESPN, so emotional, sexual, physical, and neglect. Here on Joint Base Lewis McChord, when we work with domestic abuse victims with our victim advocacy program, they have to meet certain criteria. So either an active duty service member or an adult dependent of that active duty service member. They also need to fall within an intimate partner relationship definition. So that can fall into 3 different things. So either married or previously married to the offender, share a child with that person, or share a domicile, which is a home for 31 days or more. Here on our installation, we have 7 victim advocates that are situated all over the base, and they can work with victims. So both parties in the relationship could be considered a victim. Both parties could be considered an offender as well. Each advocate will work with one person individually. They do not staff their cases with one another. The number one thing that victim advocates are going to do with each person that contacts them is safety plan. It's the most important role of their job, is to safety plan with victims to make sure that they have a plan and an idea of what to do if things start to get really hostile. Victim advocates also can become a liaison between command and the victim. They can offer community resources and referrals. Victim advocates work on a voluntary basis, and they can open reports in one of 2 ways, either a restricted or an unrestricted. With a restricted report, you can work with a victim advocate, and they will keep that report between themselves, the victim, and the FAPM, who's myself. If you have a restricted report, you can still obtain legal resources, and you can also obtain medical support. With an unrestricted report, that's when we initiate referrals to FAP Behavioral Health, as well as get into contact with command and sometimes law enforcement. With those referrals, we can offer more assistance, such as transitional compensation, safety planning, safety relocations. We can also assist with finding resources outside of the installation with some of our partnered sister agencies.
My name is Megan Casey. I am the FAP Clinical Supervisor at the Family Advocacy Program at the Department of Behavioral Health at Madigan. My program is separate than Kristen's program. However, we do collaborate services very often. So the primary goal of the Family Advocacy Program at Madigan Behavioral Health is to provide safety and treatment of partners and child cases that come to our program. The eligibility is active duty, family members of active duty, and then intimate partners of active duties. This is all branches that are here at JBLM. So the objectives of FAP is to prevent child abuse, partner abuse, to encourage reporting of instances of abuse, to ensure prompt assessment and investigation of all cases, and to protect victims of abuse and to treat everybody involved. In carrying out these objectives, the Family Advocacy Program will provide installation commanders with assistance in addressing the problems of partner and child abuse. So we talk frequently with commands regarding these situations. We also provide information and education designed to support strong, self-reliant families to enhance coping skills. So we see all family members that are involved in these cases. We see them separately to provide safety, but we do provide education and treatment in supporting these strong families. Provide services to at-risk families who are vulnerable to kinds of stresses that lead to abuse. We all know that the military can provide unique situations, and we do provide services to these at-risk families that are vulnerable. We identify abuse as well as possible to prevent further trauma. So we identify this abuse, and there's all different kinds of abuse that comes to our program. We do collaborate with Kristen, so she does give us some of her cases that include physical, emotional, neglect, and sexual abuse. We provide treatment services to service members and their families who are involved in family violence in order to strengthen the family and to prevent the reoccurrence of abuse. So this treatment is with all family members, or it can be with one family member, it can be with the children, it can be with the victim, it can be with everybody. We encourage voluntary self-referral through the education and awareness of these programs. So some of them are self-referred, some of them are command-referred. We actually take all kinds of referrals at our program. There's not one specific place we take them. They just have to qualify as active duty and family members. We partner with installation and community organizations to promote community cohesion. So we partner with all different kinds of programs, including Kristen's. However, we also partner with programs off-post and on-post to provide safety and treatment for victims. So the treatment that we specifically focus on for the victims that do come to our program, we have a life group, which is our life living in full empowerment, which is for victims, female victims, and they can come and provide support and encouragement. We do have individual therapy. We have individual therapy for both adults and children. This is a huge piece of our program in providing the individual therapy. We also do extensive trauma work with victims at our program. And then the major thing that we do when they first come into our program is safety. So this is a huge piece of what we do when they come into the first thing they do when they come into our office is that we discuss safety. And safety in the home, safety outside of the home, and how to continue safety. So if you have any other questions or if you want services from our program, don't hesitate to call, and the number is 253-968-4159.
Good morning. My name is Steve Tenorio. I am a legal assistance attorney assigned to McChord Legal Assistance Office. Several years ago, the Legal Assistance Office here in Joint Base Lewis McChord wanted to be more responsive to domestic violence issues that were surrounding the space. So what we did several years ago is we looked towards different service models that were used outside by legal advocates in the courts in addressing domestic violence and domestic abuse. So looking at the wraparound process, the systems of care approach, the multidisciplinary team approach, we discovered that there was 3 aspects of all these collaborative programs that were really helpful, and we adopted them. The first one is case management. We found that case management works, often working with people who are experiencing crisis. There needs to be more flexibility from an attorney, and an attorney needs to do a little bit more social work maybe than attorney work, which then requires that we do a lot of collaboration with networks and agencies outside in the civilian side. The reason why that's important is that we discovered that by mitigating stressors of the victim, our client, they would be in a better place to make more informed decisions about the legal issues currently in front of them. So if you come to the Legal Assistance Office, you're going to see this holistic approach in which our efforts is working with the clients, the different agencies, to include the Family Advocacy Program and other agencies, to help mitigate the stressors, to have the client make the best decisions in what their needs may be. So if a client comes to our office, there may be immediate needs. We will work with them. If there's a safety issue, we will refer to the subject matter experts. An example would be the civilian domestic violence agencies or the Family Advocacy Program, or the short-term needs. Sometimes clients come to see us and there's family legal issues that need to be resolved, but maybe resolved in the next upcoming weeks or month versus within the next 72 hours. And then finally, the long-term planning. Getting a divorce or going through any family legal issue could span a year to 2 years. So our office offers that type of flexibility. And the other thing our office offers, which is very helpful, is information management. Oftentimes, a victim is experiencing a lot of trauma to add overwhelming information being given to them from so many different agencies, and perhaps there's a court process occurring, or maybe there will be a court process occurring on the military side or the state side. This is a lot of information, and that's where we as attorneys are very resourceful, because we can take all that information and help the client digest it and then plan for the eventualities in front of them. So if you need assistance, I advise you to call one of our legal assistance offices. You can reach our office at 253-982-5513.
I'm Captain Matthew Rich, Chief of the JBLM Main Legal Assistance Office. Today I'm going to address a few frequently asked questions about the Army Legal Assistance Program. First of all, what is the Legal Assistance Program? Well, the Army Legal Assistance Program's mission is to provide personal legal advice in a timely and professional manner. The Legal Assistance Program has offices on most Army installations and is staffed by licensed and trained attorneys and paralegals. These professionals have experience across a wide range of legal issues, including divorce law, protective orders, and child custody. Addressing which clients may be eligible, the following is not an exclusive list, but as an example. That includes active duty service members, reserve component and National Guard service members on duty for 30 days or more, retirees who are receiving retired pay, and dependents of service members in any of those categories. Again, this list is not exclusive, so please contact your local legal assistance office with any questions about eligibility. The JBLM Main Legal Assistance Office can be reached at 253-477-1886. Next question, does JBLM have a legal assistance office? Well, yes, JBLM actually has two legal assistance offices. One, the JBLM Main Legal Assistance Office, and also the McChord Legal Assistance Office. Clients are screened at each office to ensure that there's no conflict of interest when, for example, one office isn't consulted by two adverse parties. Instead, in the event of a conflict, one client will be able to receive advice from the McChord Legal Assistance Office and the other from the JBLM Main Legal Assistance Office. Each spouse in any family law dispute can consult with an attorney without fear of encountering the other. Third, can legal assistance attorneys represent me in state court or in a military judicial proceeding? Unfortunately, by regulation, legal assistance attorneys are prevented from representing clients in state court or military proceedings. Legal assistance attorneys are limited to consultations and advice and assistance with filling out paperwork. If your case requires an attorney to represent you in civilian court, you will have to hire one. Fourth, if I don't want to report my service member spouse for domestic violence, but I want to know my legal rights, then will my communications with the legal assistance attorney be reported to my chain of command? And the answer to that is no. Consultation with legal assistance attorneys is confidential and will not be reported to the chain of command. So long as communications between the legal assistance attorney are private, the communication is protected by attorney-client privilege, which means generally that the attorney will not be able to disclose any information shared unless you want him or her to do so. The legal assistance attorney can discuss your legal rights with you and help you make an educated decision about what to do next.
Hello, I'm Captain Kathy Hartsfield, Army Special Victims Counsel at JBLM. Special Victim Counsels, also known as SVCs, are military attorneys who provide legal representation and advice to eligible victims of a sex-related offense throughout the military justice process. Now, beginning 1 December of 2020 this year, SVCs will be expanding their services to represent eligible victims of specific domestic violence offenses. SVCs work to ensure a victim's rights are protected. There are 8 enumerated victims' rights pursuant to the Uniform Code of Military Justice, otherwise known as the UCMJ. First, the victim has a right to be reasonably protected from the accused. What that generally means is that the SVC will ensure a military protection order is in place and the victim is safe from immediate threat to safety. Second, the victim has the right to reasonably accurate and timely notice of a pretrial confinement hearing, preliminary hearing, the court-martial, and a clemency and parole board hearing. The SVC will ensure the victim is notified of all of these proceedings. Third, the victim has a right not to be excluded from any of these hearings and the court-martial. The SVC will be present at these hearings and ensure the victim understands each step of the litigation process. Fourth, the victim has the right to be reasonably heard at a pretrial confinement hearing, sentencing hearing, and a clemency and parole board hearing. The SVC will help prepare the victim for testimony if the victim chooses to make a statement at these hearings. Fifth, the victim has the reasonable right to confer with government counsel. SVCs are not the prosecutor, but they have a working relationship with government counsel to ensure there is fluid communication between the victim and trial counsel. Sixth, the victim has a right to receive restitution as provided by law. And seventh, SVCs will help protect the victim's rights to proceedings free from unreasonable delay. And finally, eighth, SVCs will help protect the victim's right to be treated with fairness and with respect for the dignity and privacy of the victim. So what are the eligibility requirements for SVC services? First, the victim must be eligible to receive military legal assistance as described by Captain Rich earlier. The most common circumstances we see are when the victim is an active duty service member or dependent of an active duty service member. Second, there has to be a qualifying domestic violence offense under the UCMJ. So the scope for SVCs are much more narrow than the eligibility requirements than FAP describe. The victim must make a restricted or an unrestricted report of domestic violence, specifically DV aggravated assault, commission of a physical violent offense against a spouse, intimate partner, or immediate family member, or assault by strangulation or suffocation. An SVC can also be assigned later into the military justice process. So for example, when the prosecutor is preparing for referral of domestic violence charges or initiation of separation hearing. In any other case, the legal assistance attorney, Captain Rich or Mr. Tenorio, or anybody else from the legal assistance office, if they believe that the SVC representation would assist their client, that legal assistance attorney can reach out to me and request SVC representation, and we would submit a request through the SVC program office to determine if an SVC can be assigned to that victim. SVCs will serve as an advocate for the interest of these DV victims, even when their interests may not always align with the government. Our goal as the SVC is to empower the client by fostering an understanding of the military justice process and ensuring their victims' rights under the UCMJ are protected throughout all the proceedings.
This is Captain Kevin Mitchell, Air Force Special Victims Counsel, stationed at McChord Field on Joint Base Lewis McChord. As a Special Victims Counsel, I provide independent legal advice and representation to victims of sexual assault, and beginning on December the 1st, 2020, certain domestic violence offenses as defined by the UCMJ. Those offenses include attempted murder, attempted manslaughter, aggravated assault, stalking, maiming, and attempts of those articles as well. While providing independent legal advice and representation, we provide clients with the ability to understand the military justice process as it unfolds in order to hold the offender accountable. And while we can't work as the prosecutor in this, we work independent of the prosecutor to make sure that our clients' stated interests are met and that their voice is heard throughout that process. If our clients don't qualify for a certain offense that achieves SVC services, they can route an exceptional circumstances request in order to see if they can obtain representation if they would not otherwise qualify. Qualifying persons, as Captain Hartsfield stated, are most likely going to be active duty members or their dependents, reserve members or their dependents, as well as other qualifying persons under the exceptional circumstances request. One key thing is to look for a military nexus from the abuser, so someone who is subject to the UCMJ or the military justices process. Additionally, we also assist our clients in the transitional compensation program by working with the victim witness assistance program managers to ensure that our clients understand their options, the resources available, as well as what may or may not happen throughout the military justice process. In order to apply for an SVC, you can speak with any of the agencies that have already spoken at this roundtable and ask for a referral, or go to the servicing-based legal office. Our office is located at Building 100 on the McChord Field side of Joint Base Lewis McChord, and you can stop by on the 3rd floor and ask for more information as well.
Hello, my name is Bob Jarrett, and I am the Victim and Witness Assistance Program, or VWAP, coordinator for the 62nd Airlift Wing, McChord Field here at Joint Base Lewis McChord. I'm tasked with managing and coordinating the application of all VWAP resources for the wing. I serve at the direction of the wing commander, who is the local responsible official over the VWAP program on McChord. Purpose of the program is to provide assistance in all cases in which criminal conduct adversely affects victims or in which witnesses provide information regarding criminal activity if any portion of the investigation is conducted primarily by Department of Defense officials. And the VWAP program has three major objectives. The first is to mitigate the physical, psychological, and financial hardships suffered by military and civilian victims and witnesses of offenses investigated by military authorities. And this would include ensuring that all identified victims are aware of and can access both Department of Defense and civilian resources available to them that will assist in navigating the military justice system and assist in recovering from trauma. We also try to foster cooperation of victims and witnesses within the military justice system. And then finally, to ensure that best efforts are made to accord to victims of crime certain enumerated rights, including those described under Article 6B of the UCMJ, which have already been explained here. Other specific services that I can offer are, just recently we've been authorized to or to assist with the processing of expedited transfer requests for Air Force members for cases that do not fall under the Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Program, or the SAPR, or the Family Advocacy Program. And these include expedited transfer requests for service members who are victims of stalking, indecent viewing, visual recording or broadcasting, forcible pandering, and or indecent exposure. Air Force service members who are victims of sexual assault or domestic violence assigned to a joint installation where the FAP program is not operated by the Air Force. And then finally, Air Force service members whose dependent was sexually assaulted by another service member to whom the victim is not related. We also provide assistance with transitional compensation, which is a program we share in common with the Army. And finally, VWAP provides an essential service by making sure victims and witnesses are aware of their rights and the services available to them, which will in turn hopefully mitigate the trauma they may have experienced and foster their cooperation in the criminal investigation and any ensuing prosecution.
Good morning, I'm Tanita Bellbuck, and I am the Army Victim Witness Liaison, known as the VWL. The VWL works in conjunction with law enforcement, legal personnel, family advocacy, and other agencies providing assistance to victims and witnesses of crime. My goal is to ensure that all victims and witnesses are informed of their rights and of all significant events involved in the criminal justice process. I would like to take this opportunity this morning to talk about the Transitional Compensation Program and what that entails. The Transitional Compensation Program provides temporary financial assistance to eligible dependents after a soldier is separated from military service for a dependent abuse offense. What are some of the eligibility requirements and benefits of transitional compensation? Eligibility. For a dependent to be eligible and considered for compensation, the soldier must have been on active duty for more than 30 days, must have been administratively separated from the military for a dependent abuse offense, or the service member has been court-martialed with a qualifying sentence, and must have been committed at least one dependent abuse-related offense. Benefits for transitional compensation are for 36 months, and they include monetary payments, medical care through the TRICARE system, commissary and exchange privileges, along with dental care. The dental care is available in the dental facilities on the military installation on a space available basis.
Thank you to all of the panel members for participating here today. As you've heard, all of us have a shared mission of advocating for and supporting victims of domestic violence. We're a professional team that provides wraparound services, working together to ensure that the victims of domestic violence have their needs met. In addition to this video on Facebook, we've created an information paper that covers the topics of discussion today, as well as a frequently asked questions section. Together, we can empower domestic violence victims to positively change their circumstances, and we hope that you can continue to share this message with fellow service members and loved ones. Thank you.